Okay, welcome to episode 8 of Chef and Lambos by Chef David Hill. Again, another day on Bonita Beach. And this is quite a venue, I gotta say. It's a pretty nice spot. And today we have a guest that's more of a restaurant guy. And I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Hey guys, I'm Chef Chris Berube, born local, Naples, Florida. Grew up around this area. And as you can see, it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I was just talking to him. I don't know if I could trade it.
Yeah.
I would love to trade it for the small town living, but I mean, where else can you get this in your backyard?
Right.
You know, I mean, it was definitely fortunate growing up in a.
And I want to say you're the first guy that's born and raised here.
Everybody's
from different places.
There's not many of us
All
left.
the chefs.
Not many
it's
of
rare.
us left.
It's rare. Really
It is.
rare.
It is.
How often are the employees all like that you work with all from Florida? Is it kind of often or rare?
You know, I don't think I have one.
Wow.
Not, at least not in my kitchen.
Right.
In my kitchen, I mean, I have Connecticut, New York, Ohio, Mexico, Haiti, but none that are even from Florida.
Yeah.
And it's like, which is nice because it brings, that diversity to it, to where, we trade stories about, hey, well, up here, going through this and going through the winter. And I look at what's winter?
Right.
They're like, oh, yeah, I'd get -5. You mean cities actually get that?
You have no idea.
No. I lived in Texas for a year, and it got down to about 8 degrees. And, of course, here I was, the Florida boy in shorts and a parka going, hey, guys, this is all right. I mean, I don't know if I can do this another year, but.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, when you think back about your childhood of being going into this chef life stuff, what was it that drew you to want to do it, or was maybe a first job, a dishwasher, cook or something? What made you want to do this?
It was actually a very, very unfortunate accident that led me into this.
Let's hear it.
My first job was actually Outback Steakhouse. I was a young, dumb kid, 16 years old, bussing tables. It lasted for about 2 months. And the natural high school kid in me was like, man, I don't want to work right now. And I left and worked a gas station for a little bit. But every Sunday we would have barbecues. And everyone, we would literally put food on, take a truck, hop off a bridge, and just swim down a canal. And then finally I was like, man, I'm going to stay back and just man the food a little bit. And I started just doing random stuff. And the one that always sticks in my head the most was we had a bunch of chicken wings. And instead of just your barbecue or your lemon pepper, I was like, you know what, let me try something. I sprinkled some cinnamon, some brown sugar, put some orange slices in it, put it in the oven, baked it, then threw it on a grill. And I was like, man, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep on doing this. Then we fast forward. Through high school, I had straight A's in architecture, actually. And I actually wanted to pursue that. And was in college for architecture. And, of course, I needed a job to pay all my bills, pay my rent. And I landed a job at P.F. Chang's. And I had worked there previously for about a year in Naples. But they were opening up a P.F. Chang's in Gulf Coast Town Center in Fort Myers. And I was like, hey, I already got experience at this company. Well, I went there, and one of my high school buddies is one of the managers. And he's like, yeah, let me go ahead, put in a good word. And I landed the job there. And I was actually front of the house to start off.
Okay. So not in the kitchen.
No, I wasn't even in the kitchen. And at the time, I didn't even have the desire to be in the kitchen.
But let me ask you, with an operation like that, I'm guessing the cooks back there, they don't make those sauces, that they come in jars, or
Nope.
They actually make all those sauces?
100%.
Wow.
They make
I never would believe that.
And
just because the consistency issues. I just don't believe.
I still use the recipes to this day.
Wow.
It-
Okay. Well, go on with your
one of those
story. I
things
didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you.
it's all right. I loved it because I've done it for everywhere. I take little bits and pieces. Okay, well, this sauce, I know it's going to do this. It's going to taste like this.
And
then
change it up a little.
Yeah, to where some people have crucified me for it because they're like, oh, well, that's Asian and this is continental and that's Mexican. You can't throw all that. I'm like, well, if no one told you that tomato and basil went together, how would you figure it out?
Right.
With
cooking, there's no rules.
I love it. That's no exactly
rules. No boundaries.
That's what I've told someone is like a lot of classically trained chefs cannot stand me because I don't do stuff the classic way.
Right.
And But what led me into the kitchen was, I'd worked my way up. I was a food runner. And then within 4 months, they're like, hey, let's move you up to a bar back. It's a little bit more faster paced.
At P.F. Chang's we're talking?
Yeah,
okay.
P.F. Chang's.
Go ahead.
And then from the bar back, it was like, well, let's see what these servers are making. I want to make server money. So naturally, went into serving. And then I was actually longboarding and had my dog pulling me on the longboard, almost like a wakeboarding, until he decided to go towards the grass and hit the grass. Hands went out forward to save myself, and I actually fractured my wrist so bad that I almost needed surgery.
Whoa.
And so I was in a cast for about 2.5 months, couldn't do anything, so they had me hosting, which it was nice because I learned almost every single aspect of the front of the house. And then right before that, when it was slow, I would dabble in the kitchen a little bit. If our pantry side was in the middle of prep, and I rang in a salmon or something, I'd go back there, I'd grill the salmon, do everything.
Nice.
And I got my cast off, and I went back to the front of the house for about a month or so. And my chef was like, dude, you're not too bad in the back of the house. You want to give it a try? I was like, sure, yeah, let's do it. They threw me in the middle of a season on a 2.5-hour wait Friday night. And I think we did somewhere around 1,600 covers that night. It was $35,000, $40,000 night. I went in there and said, all right, sink or swim. And it was the funnest thing I'd ever done.
Yeah, it's high pressure.
It was.
It's real high pressure doing that.
It was an adrenaline rush. And the guy who was on pantry with me, it was like a dance. We did not even have to talk. We just, we'd call the ticket as I'm plating what he started. He's off finishing what I started. And it was the best teamwork I've ever seen.
Like poetry in motion.
It was. It was beautiful. I mean, to this day, I've only had 2 or 3 other people that it was in such sync that, like I said, you didn't even have to talk. And our pantry station there, it wasn't, like today you have your pantry station, most of the time you're putting out your salads or your desserts and stuff like that. We had a charbroil grill, a salamander, a 6-top burner, a steamer, our fryers, plus our desserts, plus our salad. So I got pretty well-rounded all at that. And then I needed some change. And my brother was living in Texas, working at the Ritz-Carlton, doing valet parking and doorman. And he's like, hey, you can make a lot of money doing this. And I was like, all right, well, I'm still young. I'm 22 years old. And so I moved out to Dallas within, 3 weeks of him offering me this job. And I went out there, and I was going to go to P.F. Chang's. But when I went out there, oh, no, we haven't heard anything. No one sent any request over to transfer you. And that was kind of the end of my P.F. Chang's there. I was like, okay, I'm just going to go straight to the Ritz and work there, which it was a fun experience.
In the kitchen, that is.
No, I was valet parking cars.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to try to keep pursuing.
No, because at this point, it hadn't set in that was really what I wanted to do. I was looking for that fast buck, that front of the house kind of money. And it was great. As I was in the best shape of my life, running 15 to 20 miles a day. And about a year into it, my mom's husband passed away, and they were living down here. So I came back to kind of help my mom out, stay with her so she wasn't lonely. And when I came back, I was working at the Ritz-Carlton in Naples for a little while. At this point, I was still young. I think I was about 24 years old or so. And life hit me like a ton of bricks living in the fast lane. And I landed myself a DUI, which...
That could slow you down.
I never realized how much of a blessing it actually was. As much as I loved, the money, I was making stupid money for a 23, 24-year-old kid. I was making almost $90,000 a year without any serious bills. So it was, every night was a club night, going out partying. But when I got my DUI, obviously I couldn't park cars anymore. And I decided to go back to restaurants. I was like, hey, I know restaurants. And one of my old sous chefs from P.F. Chang's was actually now the culinary partner at P.F. Chang's in Naples. And I was living back in Naples. And, me and him always got along. I looked at him as one of my early mentors. So I went back to PF Chang's. Okay. Except for this time I went on the wok cooking. More of that fast paced.
Yeah.
And little did I know that was going to spark my favorite style of cooking. Wok cooking, saute, Yeah. To this day, I tell everyone, I'm like, there's no adrenaline rush like getting 20, 30 tickets lined up on a sautation with 12 burners in front of you and just rocking it out.
Yeah, you got to love that, because I think it's like a certain individual that likes that kind of stuff and can do it, because I wasn't really good at that. That production where you're like on the line, that just wasn't my thing. I need to like have a little time, let's put it together right, not speed through stuff.
And that's, you know what I mean? That honed in my skills as far as volume. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it was a blast. You got that heat going to you. You got all your pans going. You're going around. But after, like, I started noticing how much I really loved cooking when I was there. And it was actually my mom. My mom's been my hero throughout life. When I was about 12 years old, she was an alcoholic. And she, at 36 years old, quit drinking. And to this, I think this year in August is actually 23 or 24 years that she's been sober.
Good for her.
And she noticed that, hey, I'm actually pretty good at this. And she bought me my first set of knives. It was a nice set of Henkels. Nice. I remember it was wrapped up. It was a birthday present. And she handed me it, and I had no clue what it was. It looked kind of like a long bookcase of some sort or something. Mm-hmm. I opened it up, and there was a note that said, "You're great at this. Here's your first set of knives. Make something of yourself." And that kind of spoke to me, because when she gave that to me, she'd already signed up for college, and she went back to college at in her late 30s to pursue a master's degree in criminal science. And it kind of showed me that, hey, it's never too late, especially at a young age. I'm thinking by 25, I got to know what I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
And it showed me that, okay, it's never too late to really do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. So I was working at PF Chang's still, but I had one of my buddies who'd been in the culinary field since he was almost 16 years old. He landed a dishwashing job at a private club, and he started to take notice of little things I'd post on social media, some nice platings and stuff like that. And he actually offered me my first club job over at, what was it? Not Bonita Bay.
Shadowwood?
No, it's over Pelican Marsh off of 41.
Pelican, not Pelican Bay?
No, not Pelican. I always forget.
Pelican Marsh.
It was Chef Wilhelm was there for the
Mediterra.
No. They got one on the beach and one's the golf.
Oh, Bay Colony?
Bay Colony.
Got it.
And I
know them all.
So it was like, I got my first real, more fine dining style. And I went in there and I looked at the stuff that Wilhelm was doing. And I was like, these are gorgeous. This isn't just putting something on top of some rice.
Yeah, he's great.
Oh, he was, it was unbelievable, the food he was putting out.
Yeah.
And, the high-end ingredients, and like you were saying, not just the fast production, throw it on a plate and send it out.
More fine-tuning.
Taking certain garnishes and just, okay, that garnish shifted a half inch, no, bring it back real quick.
Yeah.
And it locked me in. And so I spent about a year there, really.
What was your position there?
Just a regular line
cook, yeah.
And my buddy Adam that got me the job, I'm good on saute. He's better.
Okay.
I know this is a big argumentative thing. Uh-huh. I was LeBron. He was Michael.
All right.
Sorry to all the LeBron is the GOAT people. But so they stuck me on the middle, which was our oven, calling the tickets. And I'd never really done the expo side of it.
Okay.
As far as from inside the kitchen
right.
standpoint. So that honed my skills a little bit more. And after I left Bay Colony...
Well, how long were you there technically?
About a year.
Okay.
And at this time, still kind of recouping from my DUI. I didn't have my license, and I ended up moving to the other side of town. It would have been about a 2-hour bike ride, so I found something on Fifth Avenue because I was living over on the east side of town. Mm-hmm. And I actually landed at Yaba's.
Oh, yeah. That's a good place.
And that, I would say, set the tone for the rest of my career.
It's all that tropical Jamaican kind of feel.
Yeah, it was an island feel, but we had the steaks, we had the seafood, we had sushi, and it was a well-diverse menu. And I had a chef there for about a month and a half who, at the time, he had checked out mentally. And they brought in the chef from Pazos, their sister company, Chef Ryan Melito. And I think he's about 4 years older than me. He actually went to school with my brother. And to this day, he is my true mentor. He not only showed me the fine points of cooking, sauces, why you do this, how to preserve this. He also showed me how to treat a staff. Because I had worked with those chefs that they were yell, cuss you out, make you feel like an idiot. And I went in there, and he wasn't a yeller. Now if you were goofing off and doing a lot of stupid stuff, he might get on you.
Yeah.
But he respected his staff. And I'll never forget, it was a Friday night in the middle of the season. One of our dishwashers didn't show up. And he goes to take off his coat to go back there and do dish.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm thinking, he's earned his stripes.
Right.
He's been in this business for a while. There's a reason he is the executive chef, which that's the reason he's not afraid to go do whatever. And I took mental note of that and instilled that in myself that, hey, if you want a staff to respect you, you have to do the jobs that you're going to essentially ask them to do at some point.
Clean the fryers,
do
all that
clean
heavy
the fryers,
stuff.
mop the walk-in floor.
Get their respect.
Even out in the parking lot, if there's a mess in the parking lot, why are you going to wait 2 hours, leave that mess there for your dishwasher to come in when you're the first one? Go out there and clean it yourself. Take pride in what you do. Treat your staff with the respect. I think there's a life lesson that anyone tells you. You want respect, you got to give the respect.
Yeah.
And I took that with me, and it has made the job so much easier.
That's awesome.
Because it was one of those things that he told me. He goes,
it's like a life lesson.
It really was.
Yeah.
Just treat people with respect, just in general.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you do that, you will see your staff will do the jobs that no one wants to do without you even having to ask them to do it.
Right.
And it was so true. And so it was at Yaba's, and of course, Saute again was my station.
Yeah.
And then it came time for, season slowed down, and it was like, okay, well, we only got, we can split up shifts, with Saute because we had two of us on season. And he's like, do you want to learn anything else? I was like, throw me back on pantry. You got sushi over there. I don't know how to roll sushi. So I spent a whole summer just rolling sushi.
Awesome. More experience.
Yeah. And of course that led into, well, hey, you're actually really good at, sushi. So they hired another saute cook and they put me on sushi for the next season.
There's your spot.
I'm like, okay, so now I learned how to roll into it with some speed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met my current girlfriend. And after a couple months, we decided to move in together. And she lives way out in the estates, so far away from Fifth Avenue that, just like with Bay Colony, it didn't make sense to stay there. So I ended up putting in about a 3-month notice that, hey, I can make it. I'll finish out the season for you guys. Mm-hmm. And I finished out the season there, but I was living way out in the estates still with no license. So I'm like, all right, I got to find something around here. And, I was still line cooking at the time, but I was like a key employee. And I just happened to stumble into Pelican Larry's one day for lunch, and I saw someone that I knew actually previous from the place I worked, and they're like, hey, by any chance, are you looking for a job? Because we're pretty short-staffed. I was like, coincidentally, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And I met with the KM of there, JD Damas from the Food Rock. And it was about 3 weeks into it, and he just looked at me, and he's like, you're not a $14 an hour line cook, are you? I was like, not really, but I need a job. He goes,
yeah.
And it was about 2 weeks later, the director of operations came, and he's like, hey, me and JD were talking. He would hate to lose you. And I'm like, wait a minute, am I getting fired? He's like, no, we want to give you your own store.
Wow.
So it was like, I'd finally, cut out all my partying. And I try to tell some of my staff, take the initiative. You want to move up? When I was working at Pelican Larry's before I got my own store, I had a choice. I could either be 45 minutes late to work, or I could be 7.5 hours early to work.
Right. Now, where was this location?
This was the 951 in Immokalee location.
Okay.
And I don't like to be late. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to be 7.5 hours early. I can help prep. You guys need me to paint something. You need me to do whatever. I can do it. And then they gave me my own store, which I spent about a year Ubering almost.
Wow.
Back and forth. $70 a day to Uber. But it worked out nicely because when they gave me that store, I actually found out that I had my first child on the way.
You had a lot going on.
It
changed everything.
Oh my gosh. It was the best thing that ever happened because that child mindset went away. My partying stopped. I focused on it.
Gotta grow up fast.
It was.
Grow up fast.
And my child was born, and about 3 weeks later, I'm like, look, I can't be riding a bike anymore. I got a kid, and I got my license back. I got everything fixed that I needed to get fixed, and I finally, I had my life back, and it was awesome. To the point today, I'm even like, what? I didn't have my license for years. I'm driving today. Don't worry about it. Save your gas. I don't care what gas costs. Save it. I'm driving.
Yeah.
And then from Pelican Larry's, I left to open Timeless because I wanted to go back to more of the fine dining, intricate plating.
Right.
And, I'd heard all these things about the chef there, that he was one of the best in the biz that was around. His flavors were amazing. And I went to Timeless. And when Hurricane Irma came around, my son was about 5 months old at the time. And we went up north because I'm like, hey, I'm not having a 5-year-old in a Category 5 hurricane. And so we went up north. We didn't have power for almost 3 weeks out in the estates after it hit. And the chef got upset that I couldn't come back. And I was let go, which was like, it was one of those things that it sucked, but it was another blessing in disguise because I was line cooking.
Right.
So I found something. One of my buddies from the Ritz-Carlton was a general contractor, and he's like, hey, I could use a labor, right now. So I was like, all right, cool. It's something for right now.
Just to get by.
Yeah, pay the bills. And then my old KM and director of operations from Pelican Larry's messaged me. It was funny because it was literally 10 minutes after an argument with me and my girlfriend going, well, we need more money. And I was like, the only way I'm going to get more money is go back to being a chef.
Roll what you do. That's what you do.
10 minutes later, I get a text message. Hey, I know you said you were, kind of trying to leave the industry to be with your kid more, but I have a sous chef position open, for X amount of dollars. Do you want it? And I was like, this is a message from God. I was literally just talking about this 10 minutes later that, hey, this is what we need.
You got a blessing.
And sure enough, I took it. And it was actually right down the road from the location that we're at right now over at, again, the name slips on me, Bayfront.
Well, I noticed your shirt here. Is that like your chef jacket there? Is that your business? Or
this is actually my personal business.
Okay, go into that.
So this revolved because after I'd gotten into, hey, I'm gonna do this chef thing.
Yeah.
I see it. And I'd already landed my first exec job, and my first exec job was extreme fine dining. I mean, to where, hey, if you've ever seen the movie Burnt, Bradley Cooper style, hey, the potatoes are supposed to be X thin. Did you measure it? Well, why not?
Yeah.
Kind of. And I had a buddy of mine who was getting married. And he's like, hey, how would you feel about catering our wedding? And I was like, well, I haven't catered anything, but I mean, sure, why not? Is everything all right? He's like, well, the catering places, they're estimating $18,000 for our event. And I was like, all right, well, what the hell do you got going on, man?
Yeah.
He's like 65 people, 5 course, 12 past apps, and that's it. I was like, all right, yeah, let's do it.
And you knocked it out of the park, didn't you?
Me and one other person did the entire event. Luckily, because he wanted to save some money, didn't want any servers. Luckily, the bridesmaids had all had past experience because we needed servers to take out each course. And I remember, I was hanging out with him the whole night before because I'm like, hey, I'm not going to actually be able to be at your wedding. Mm-hmm. We must have stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning just talking about everything. And me and my buddy ended up prepping from 6 in the morning till 6:30 at night. Got every single past apps done about 10 minutes prior to it. And all we had was
close.
6 burners and 2 ovens to work with.
Yeah.
And a regular household kitchen. And I was like, man, like I looked at the money I made, even cutting his, I think I charged him maybe 75% of what the catering company had quoted him.
But that was kind of the start of the idea that, hey, I could do this?
Yeah, it was like, I want to get this under my belt.
But it's catering and private chef. Tell me, like, what it is, what you really want to do.
So, in the name, it's Infusion Culinary Services.
Okay.
That way, it's not Infusion Catering, Infusion, meal prepping.
Right.
But
it could be everything.
Everything. So I do meal prepping for, people who want the healthier side of meals. Uh-huh. But I also do it for the families that are like, hey, we work 12 hours a day. We don't have time to come home and cook a full meal. I prepare meals for people like that.
Now, where can the people find you? Is there like a website yet?
The website isn't up yet.
But is that primarily how they're going to find you going forward, or is there
that
a plan?
That and social media?
Okay, so Facebook, Instagram.
I have the page set up right now.
I don't think I've seen that though. Did you push that out to the people? Do a lot of people know about it?
It hasn't been pushed out as much as it should.
Okay.
Because
I'm going to follow it. I'm going to go after this, and I'll send me a link or something.
Yeah. So lately, I've been promoting it a little bit more through my Facebook page. Mm-hmm. I'll make a post on it, Infusion Culinary Services, and then I'll share it throughout my pages, my stories. Mm-hmm. But I started with more meal prepping clients.
Awesome.
And then it was one of those things like, okay, this is doing all right, but I really still need that job that is going to pay my bills consistently. And I still wanted to hone my skills a little bit more. Because in this game, actually, Wilhelm taught me, you will never stop learning. The day you stop learning.
You can never know everything. Never.
The day you stop learning is the day your career's over.
Cooking is infinite.
You
can never know everything.
No.
Never, ever.
And that's why I love when I get that new up-and-coming line cook. That's like, no, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. I know how to do it. Show me.
Yeah. There's many different ways to skin a cat. I mean, this guy might not do it exactly the way you do it, but the result might be very similar.
And that's how I've looked at it is, it's almost like math. And this is what I tell some of my cooks right now. It's like, what's 2 plus 7? Well, it's 9. What's 5 plus 4? 9. What's 3 plus 6? It's 9. What's your point? There's multiple ways to get to the same conclusion and the same result.
I love it.
And
That's a good way to put it.
And he also taught me, because my first day there, he's like, hey, do you have a crab cake recipe? Yeah. Okay, go ahead and make one for me. And we had a big party coming up with him. I was like, you don't have one that you want me to use? He goes, well, I've never tried yours. Yours might be better than mine. I was like, okay. So I tell my staff that. I have to tell my dishwashers, my servers, everyone. I'm like, hey, if you have an idea, don't be afraid to throw it out to me, because you might know something that I don't. It was a 16-year-old dishwasher that gave me his mom's recipe for salsa. Mm-hmm. And to this day, I still use it. I'm like, man, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. But right now I'm at the Pearl Steak and Seafood, and it's one of the best places I've been.
Yeah. So you're the head chef there?
Yes.
Okay. And how many hours are you pulling right now?
Out of season, about 45 to 50. Okay. I would say the owners, they are a blessing, because they are a very family oriented place. You had the mom and dad. Unfortunately, dad passed away last year to COVID.
Oh, sorry to hear
and
that.
Their youngest son took over.
Okay.
And he graduated from culinary school. He's very talented.
So he knows his stuff.
And he does. and he knows more of the business side of it, which was awesome because even with that, you can never stop learning on the business side.
Right.
Which he takes care of more of the business side in the front of the house, and I take care of the back of the house.
Oh,
but
so it's a good partnership there.
It is awesome.
You guys kind of help each other get through the daily stuff.
Yeah, and
you're happy.
Oh, I love it because he's got kids that are the same age as my kids, and so he understands that life happens. You know, in the middle of season, my son and his grandmother got in an accident, and it wasn't a thing. You know, I got the phone call. It wasn't a thing of, oh, hey, my son got in an accident. Do you mind? As soon as I was on the phone, that is everyone okay? You know, is Cal okay? He just looked at me.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't a thing that I had to try to explain. And hey, do you mind if I go take? No, go.
He's very understanding. That's a good fit for you. Though.
And
you need someone who's understanding.
It's a beautiful relationship because the same thing with him. You know, if he's not in that day, you know, because of whatever, it's like, dude, it's all right. I got this. Just like I know you got it if I'm not here.
Gotcha.
You know, and you don't got to go through the hoops of everything. So it was a great fit. But at the same time, he knows that I'm really pushing to get
your business,
my actual business going.
I think that's great.
And it's one of those things that, you know, going into it, you know, I've even told him, like, hey, you know, I'm never going to leave you high and dry during the middle of the season.
Right.
But I will give you that heads up that, you know, hey, this might be my last season, that I'm really going to push, you know, for my private events and my catering. And another beautiful part was he was just like, dude, I'm all for it.
Yeah,
you know, I love to see the people
awesome.
grow. You know, if there's anything I can do to help you, you know, with your private events, if you need to use the kitchen, use the kitchen.
Well, I just want to say that's a great partnership. And the reason that we met is basically seeing all your social media posts. I can tell you're very talented. Your food looks beautiful. And I just want to say thanks for coming on today. And I look forward to watching your career blossom.
I appreciate it. You're an inspiration too, man. I mean,
I try.
even to this day. And, you know, because I'd always seen the post and everything. I'm like, man, this is great. And I see he's making a living. And he's got a smile on his face.
I'm happy as can be.
You know, and like the private events that I've done, I'm like, man, this is awesome. You're not pressured. You know, you're cooking at your own pace and everything. And then, of course, when you got the Lambo, I'm like, dreams.
All I could say was a good pandemic. That's really all I could say about it.
It was true. I think that opened up a big spot for private chefs. Right. You know, because you didn't have to worry about going into a crowded restaurant and everything like that.
Well, Chef, thanks for coming on. And,
Chef, I appreciate you.
Like I said, we'll keep in touch, and good luck to you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.